To Miss Carol's art class. We are going to be doing step-by-step how to draw 3D forms. We're drawing a sphere, a cylinder, a cone, and a cube. We're going to go step-by-step through it. I'm going to number them also for our practice drawing and shading 3D forms assignment. But you can also use this demonstration when we do our project. Just don't draw the numbers on your forms for the project. First, I want you to divide your paper into 4 sections. That way you have enough room on your paper for all 4 forms. I'm going to move pretty quickly through this video. Feel free to pause the video or go back at any time if it's moving too fast. You can use a ruler for this assignment, or you can use any straight edge that you can find, whether it's the binding of a book or a folder, anything you can find with a straight edge for this assignment. First, we're going to start with the cube, and we're going to start by drawing a vertical line, then 2 horizontal lines, and then a 4th vertical line to close our square. So it starts off like a square, and then we're going to draw 3 diagonal lines going from these corners out. Try your best to make these diagonal lines the same angle or degree so that they look similar. And then we're going to close those 2 angles with a vertical and close those 2 angles with a horizontal line. So this is a cube drawn from 1-point perspective. And then we're going to draw a cast shadow because we are practicing our values and shading. So imagine if there's a light source over here, it would be casting a shadow in the opposite direction. The shadow would start where the form starts to cut off that light source. It would go around the form. And then inside of our cast shadow, we're going to have what we call a core shadow. If you have anything on your desk, like a cup or anything that has a shadow on it, if you look at it closely, you can see that just inside the shadow, it's darkest closer to the form. We call that a core shadow. And then we're going to lightly draw these numbers on our cube. I'll explain what these numbers mean at the end of the demonstration, but just lightly draw them. We'll go back and erase them later as we shade them in. Next, we're going to draw our cone, and our cone starts out like a triangle. The 2-dimensional shape equivalent to a cone is a triangle, but instead of having a flat bottom or going straight across, we have a slight bend in the line, kind of a curvilinear line here, and that's what makes it look more rounded. That's what gives it depth and makes it look like a cone rather than a triangle. We're also going to put some lines on our cone. This is an introduction to shading. So we're going to put some lines on our cone to differentiate our values for us so we can get a better idea of how this works. Again, if you had a light source over here, this is a round object, so the light would move around it this way. Then we're also going to put our cast shadow in and our core shadow, and we'll number it as well. Next, we're going to do our cylinder, which kind of starts off like a rectangle with our 2 vertical lines. And then we're going to do the same thing we did with our triangle. By the way, it might be easier to draw this curvilinear line here if you turn your paper upside down. Just the way that your wrist moves, that motion might be easier if you turn your paper upside down. So you're not going to go straight across, you're going to put a slight bend in it. And just that slight bend does a lot to make this form look 3-dimensional. Same thing at the top. And these two lines, as best you can, try to make them look similar. So try to have the same degree of bend or the same arc in the bottom line and the top line, as best you can. And then we're going to close off the top so you can see the top of the cylinder, and that is a very shallow shape there. And then we're going to do our cast shadow, and our cast shadow can be longer because it's a taller form, and our core shadow within our cast shadow. And then just like our cone here, our cylinder is rounded, so we need to put some lines in there for this introduction project just to help us differentiate our values. And we're going to number those sections as well. Okay, last we're going to do our sphere, and it's going to start out with a circle. So you can, if you have a cup near you or anything round, you can trace that. You can use a compass to draw a circle, or you can eyeball it. It doesn't have to be exactly purple, perfect, just do the best that you can. And then we're going to do a cast shadow and a core shadow within the cast shadow. And just like our other two rounded forms here, we're going to put some lines on our sphere to help us with our different values. And we're going to number those sections. Okay, so as I mentioned, we numbered all of these sections. Let me do away with the cube and the cone and put up the directions. So these directions are also posted in your assignment, but just letting you know here as well for clarity that number 1 is white, number 2 is light gray, number 3 is gray, number 4 is dark gray, number 5 is very dark. And how this is going to look across all of your forms is that, for example, number 2 light gray, you have a number 2 here and a number 2 on your sphere. They should both be light gray and they should look like the same value. So remember, value is the lightness or darkness. It should be the same lightness or darkness in this section as it is in this section. Same with your number 5. It should be as dark as you can possibly get it without ripping your paper. And it should be the same darkness here that it is here, here, and here. So all 4 of these sections should be the same darkness. And that's for all of your forms. So it's kind of like color by number, except we are shading by number. And that is all that I have for you today. We're shading these 4 forms. You can take a picture of it and upload it to the Google Classroom assignment. If you're having troubles with that, if it's not turning out like it should, then you can send it to me on Remind. Just make sure that you submit the assignment in Google Classroom and put a message in there letting me know that you turned it in on Remind. All right, thank you guys.